the so today's roundtable discussion and Q&A is on from e-waste to e-value, circular solutions for electronics. Just to let you know that the session is being recorded, so it's up to you whether you have your camera on or off or not. And the video will be available afterwards for wider viewing. So it's part of London Climate Action Week, and as if ever we needed a reminder as to why, or the extra motivation as to why we have these conversations, take action, promote change for the better. It's the weather this week. The panel and I have just been deliberating some of the challenges we're having, schools closing, trains cancelled, all that kind of stuff. We're just really not equipped for it. But there you are, that's life, and we're battling our way through. It's also why I might look a little bit like a Smurf, because I've got a skylight above me, which it was too hot to sit under, so I put a tarpaulin over it. So hopefully it's not affecting my filter too badly. My name is Mike. I am a commercial director at Community Publishers in Southwest London. So we talk a lot with residents and homeowners. We talk a lot with the local business community. We're a marketing agency also. But I'm here facilitating today really with my Kingston Chamber of Commerce hat on. I've just been made president. So it's my delight to guide us through today's conversation. And thankfully for you, we've got a brilliant panel that I'll be going to, so you won't be hearing too much from me, ideally. But just to set the scene a little bit, really, we're going to go on a bit of a discovery of how youth education and partnership can turn e-waste into environmental, social, and economic opportunities. And the global problem is real. It's massive. I'm sure we're all pretty aware of it. But according to Global E-Waste Monitor 2024, approximately 62 million tons of electronic waste are generated or were generated worldwide in 2022. That sounds an awful lot. Now, I didn't know how to equate that. What does that mean? It could be 84, it could be 42. It all just sounds a big number. So I just asked yesterday 5 people that I came across in the normal course of the day, how many devices they have at home sat in drawers, iPads, phones, whatever it may be. And they all kind of started off with the same bit of conversation, the same kind of things. Well, I've got an old phone. I've probably got a spare one, so I might have 2 or 3, plus the iPad, plus there's my kids if they've got a spare one, and so on. And we ended up between 5 people. There were probably somewhere between 25 and 40 devices sat in drawers in Southwest London, just with 5 people. So the scale is there globally, but also locally, there is a real opportunity and a challenge of getting these things back into circulation for reuse, recycling, etc. So today, we're bringing together local government, industry leaders, social enterprises, and young voices to explore how we can transform electronic waste into environmental, social, and economic opportunity. There are some practical place-based solutions that supported the transition to a thriving circular economy for electronics. And in today's challenging economic climate, e-waste provides a significant opportunity to generate the value for SMEs and the third sector. Could also help schools securing funding, enhance science curriculum through direct corporate partnerships. But it really all starts in our communities. So by sharing how we've addressed that in the Royal Borough of Kingston, we'd like to highlight some of the innovative strategies and discuss practical methods for expanding these efforts. As I say, we've got an incredible panel. It features people from representatives from across education, business, policy, and third sectors from the UK and the Netherlands. So the conversation is very much grounded in policy, innovation, and delivery. I'm going to pose a few questions for each of the panelists, and afterwards there will be an opportunity to have a Q&A. So what I'd ask you all to do is, if you have a question, please pop it in the chat. And we have Catherine Jenkins, who's going to collate some of these for us towards the end of the call. Also, I think it would be really useful if you pop your name your email, your business, and your interest in the subject in the chat also. And what we can do then is we can start connecting and sharing, follow up and whatnot. And I think it's sharing the knowledge and learnings from this that hopefully is why you're here today, and to take away some really useful practical things. So I will do my very best to get us through, but we thankfully have a great panel, and they are Jen Bourne and Sami Gichki from Solutions for the Planet. We've got Joanna Rossi and Leonard de Cruz from Kingston Council. Paul Crossman, CEO of We Love Technology. Mara Donkers and hopefully Timmy DeVos joining us as well from Race Against Waste in the Netherlands. And as I mentioned, Catherine Jenkins, Climate Officer, Senior Officer for Climate Action at Kingston Council, who will help us with some questions later on. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it and go straight over to Leonard. Leonard at Kingston Council's Waste Reduction Officer. First and foremost, to start at the very, very top, how are we defining e-waste? And what is the situation locally regarding e-waste collection?
Yep. Hi, everyone. So yeah, firstly, e-waste, essentially it's any discarded or obsolete electrical or electronic device. So for example, a broken laptop, a faulty washing machine, or a charging cable that no longer charges. So as Mike said, the e-waste is widely considered to be the fastest growing waste stream in the world. But with respect to Kingston and our sort of council services, so we are disposing of between 350 to 400 tons per year of e-waste. So that's around 200 cars worth of e-waste. So about 50% of this is small domestic appliances. So things like kettles, toasters, hair dryers, electric toothbrushes. Now, most of these things will be recycled, with a small portion collected for reuse. So in terms of challenges for Kingston, I'd like to talk about sort of three main challenges. So back in 2022, we conducted a study of what was in our general waste bin. So we found that 1.8% of our content of the general waste bin was e-waste and batteries. So 1.8% might not sound like a lot, but last year we collected just over 31,500 tons of general waste. So if my maths is correct, so 1.8% of that is around 570 tons. So that's 284 cars. So as a reminder, on the one hand, we're collecting 200 cars worth of e-waste for recycling, but then there's a whole another 284 cars worth of e-waste that's being put in the general waste bin instead of being recycled or reused. So this clearly tells us that our residents need support and further means to responsibly dispose of their e-waste. So the second challenge is obviously the issue of batteries going in the general waste stream. So yeah, this is incredibly dangerous and leads to a lot of fires, which has been happening more and more. I think even this month in Southwark, there was a huge fire. But yeah, a lot of this is coming from vaping products, but increasingly lithium-ion batteries. So yeah, clearly residents need support and more means to recycle their e-waste. But the third challenge I want to discuss is if we are to truly limit our environmental impact, we need to go beyond just recycling. So this starts with buying less, so having that internal discussion about whether we necessarily need to upgrade our phones every 2 years. Exploring rental and sharing schemes instead of owning our own items. So for example, tool libraries. Fixing things instead of throwing them away. I think as a society, we're generally more likely to fix a £400 washing machine than we are a £40 toaster, which will probably explain why we're collecting so many small domestic appliances. And lastly, buying second-hand or refurbished products instead of buying new. So these actions will reduce our environmental impact, but will also progress our economy from a linear one to a circular one.
Wow, brilliant. Thank you, Leonard. It's you can see those habits, can't you, when you talk to people about throwing things away. And there's people that were collecting all those devices I mentioned earlier at the top. the only thing that's going to get them out the drawers is if they're decluttering at the moment, because they're just not thinking about them. They're not even considering what they do with them. Brilliant. Okay, thank you. Let's go over to Sammy from Solutions to the Planet. Hi, Sammy. What from your experience working with the kind of 10 schools in Kingston through this brilliant project we're going to get onto in a bit, but what do you see as the main challenges for the schools in relation to e-waste?
I suppose, hello everyone, I am Sammy Gitchke. I am the e-waste race coordinator here at Solutions for the Planet and have been supporting Jen and the rest of the team to really deliver on the race. But the main challenges I've kind of been seeing over the past month or so, or a couple of months, has kind of primarily been on one side, students are really keen and have a really strong appetite to actually deliver and do this sort of stuff, but how we communicate with them can be a really big challenge for schools. So I remember when I was doing the initial assemblies, I went into the schools and the kids were like, oh, e-waste race, this is interesting. We've not seen you before. We had this strange man at the front of our class talking to us about rubbish primarily. But then speaking to them about, oh, did you know that your phone actually has gold in it? Or things like that really spark those eyes. And they're like, oh, now we're curious. What's happening? We want to collect and save this sort of place. And then also really trying to visualize the problem to them. So we annually, globally, we generate around 60 million tons of e-waste, which is an enormous amount, but that means nothing to the young people, it's just a number. But trying to visualize that and being like, that is roughly filling Wembley Stadium more than 1,000 times over really pulls them back, being like, okay, that's a lot and that's an issue. But
Wow.
that translation into actually being able to visualize the problem and concept and actually make them excited about why this is a problem and then making them want to fix it is what we really need to do as a society. And one of our values here at Solutions is to actually do things collectively. And that came into this race as well, where students and pupils that are working with their community and engaging with the rest of the groups beyond just the school community was also so helpful. So one of the schools that is the winner of the race, St. Paul's, some of the pupils went into the church groups and did assemblies around give us your e-waste sort of thing. So that's one side of things. And on the other side, I think schools are under immense pressure currently out from an academic standpoint around attainment, safeguarding. How do we do all of this stuff? It kind of feels like a problem bringing in an initiative that you really value and want to do, but might be afraid that you can't deliver on it. So I've had questions all the way from how will the bins be stored? How can we make sure we make students understand what's going on? How do we make sure if a fire happens, we're in the capacity to actually deliver on this? And in that capacity is just making sure that schools understand that, oh, doing this actually links in with your curriculum and meets your Gatsby benchmarks in the longer term, which is why you should be doing this. But then also it's fun for the kids and it lets them think about something beyond just the engagement and links back to the curriculum, which has been so exciting. Yeah. So I think there are quite a lot of challenges around how do we do this? How do we execute this? But because we've been learning over the past month on how to do this, I think we are really in a good position to deliver this over the longer period. But also there is appetite for this. Young people and teachers really want to do this sort of work, and they're really keen to do this more sustainably in the longer period.
Great, and I mean that's going to be absolutely key, isn't it, for us to accelerate change? We really need that. So, Ioana, I don't. Can you hear me, Ioana?
Yes, I can hear you.
Wonderful. So you're the Green Economy Lead Officer in Kingston Council. What do you see as the major problem and as a solution from an economic development perspective?
Hello, everyone. Yes, thank you, Mike. From economic development perspective, the UK faces, here in the UK, we face two primary challenges. First of all, the Earth has limited natural resources. Secondly, there is a geopolitical dependency as essential materials, minerals, are currently extracted and processed abroad. So we import a lot of these materials. To address this, we have to prioritize reducing our reliance on external supply chains. And as we bring these materials in our country, we have to value them properly and thinking towards greater local circularity. Should see these materials as input in our industrial process instead of seeing this material as waste. Basically, we have to shift from managing waste to valuing materials. This is why I'm saying sometimes to my colleague Leonard, you should change your job title, not a waste reduction officer. So it's you need to highlight the importance of the materials, have something that switches the brain of people instead of thinking of waste these materials, but realize that their materials can be used as inputs in our industries and reuse and again and again, and eliminate use of materials like plastic, which are not reused forever. So this involves fostering a circular economy from the design perspective, not only thinking how before buying something, but thinking from the design, from the moment that we design the products, how these products can be repaired, reused, and have a long term period for use. So transition basically to a circular economy through cross-sector collaboration and partnerships, like we're working with Kingston Green Business Community. And we have plenty of good examples in our Bara that transition to circularity of new startups. And Kingston Green Business Community supports them, and through behavior change, highlighting the importance of the strategic importance of these resources, basically.
Brilliant. Okay, great. And just in time, I think Tim is managed to. Am I going to Timmy or am I going to Mara? Oh, Timmy. Hey, Timmy. Great to see you. Are you feeling better first?
Yeah, thank you very much for asking.
Good. Welcome over from the Netherlands. Timmy, founder, CEO of Race Against Waste. So what opportunity did you see when you developed Race Against Waste? And would you mind just letting everybody know what it is?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the founder and CEO of Race Against Waste. And in essence, it comes down to education projects that combine education with real life action. Thanks, Joanna, for the introduction, first of all. I think you just explained the broader scope of all the things we can and should do to promote circularity. To just give an example, if you talk about design, well, not all of us have an influence on how to change design. So what I've always learned from my studies, innovation sciences, was that we need to approach the social side of the transition by giving people, first of all, the reason for why we should change, and second of all, the tools to be able to make a change. Well, I'm not able to make any changes in any product design, but I do buy stuff, I vote, I make all kinds of decisions every day. And what we wanted to do is make it so simple that even children understand. So in our education programs, kids compete to do as many actions as possible. So for example, for our e-waste race, it starts with collecting things that are really broken, but visiting repair shops if something can still be repaired. Or if you have one of your appliances laying around the house that you don't use anymore, but are perfectly suitable for somebody else to use, that you give it away on a second-hand platform. But also there's a lot of devices that you only use once a year, for example, a leaf blower. And there are sharing platforms where you can put a leaf blower on so other people can make use of it. So these are all things we can do in our daily lives. Well, in our projects, 10 schools get to experience all these little actions that you can take, and they get points for it. So we have a website where all the schools can see whether they are in position 1, 2, 3 to 10 based on the amount of actions that they've taken and how many points they've gathered. And the school with the most points wins a very cool school trip to a educative field trip. So that's what we do. That's what we believe in, that it starts with the youngest and that we really have to give people the tools. And it's also very beautiful to see that the kids are ideal ambassadors to also create change amongst adults. If children tell you to maybe consider to repair your device, it's way more adorable and nice and something you want to take in compared to when I would tell you that. And we see that it really works. In one project in the Netherlands, we can collect up to 10,000 kilograms of e-waste, which is not coming from those 200 students alone, or they would have very big drawers and basements. But this comes from reaching out to the rest of the community. And that's what we believe in, having those small ambassadors that learn something for the rest of their lives, but also teach people in their surroundings.
Incredible. And how many of these races, you run these races, how many of you have you done so far?
So in the Netherlands, we are now at a capacity of 650 schools per year, which is, Netherlands is a small country, so it's about 10% of all Dutch primary schools that participate in one of our projects. That's not only the e-waste one, by the way. We also have a program on textiles, on energy, and on water. And we have franchises in France, Germany, Spain, and now finally we started our first race in the UK together with Jen and Sammy.
Brilliant. Thank you, Timmy. Phenomenal. Speaking of Jen, let's go over to Jen. In a shared office, are you surviving?
Yeah, fine. The fans keeping me cool for now.
So you saw the opportunity in the UK. Why did you think this would work in Kingston?
Well, firstly, I don't want to take all the credit for that. I think Timmy saw the opportunity initially in the UK and reached out to me. So, but at Solutions for the Planet, we're all about bringing businesses and young people together around sustainability and skills. And the model that Timmy and the team at Race Against Waste have developed over the last 10 years is really exciting, and I think really embodies that in terms of education, learning, knowledge acquisition, and turning that knowledge acquisition into action, and really impactful action, which leaves the young people with, as Joanna has mentioned, behavioural change, greater awareness about what is the possible, and more agency as they sort of move forward. As well as the young people, we also have their parents, their families, etc. So initially, I think the model is incredibly exciting and very aligned with a systems approach to addressing one of the biggest waste issues that we've got, growing waste issues, as Leonard has touched on. In terms of Kingston, we reached out to a number of local authorities across the country, and I think what was really exciting about Kingston was that you already as a borough have a lot of the ingredients that are really meaningful in this sort of initiative. And as we were looking to pilot the programme, we wanted to be working with a local authority that was going to be really active and passionate and engaged in what we were trying to achieve. I think Joanna leading that has just had such an exceptional contribution to driving this whole program forward. Really aligned it with your green economy network. I'm sorry, business network. Joanna, if I'm getting the name of that wrong. It's really exciting that network already exists. So when we were looking to draw in the partners to be part of this program, Joanna already had the contacts. Not only did she have the essential contacts that we needed, but also some additional partners that could come in to add extra special touches, like Limetrack, who provided some of the bins, as well as the Relove Technology, who were doing the collection. So I think that was really exciting, and to have a partner that was so keen to make this something really special for the borough was really exciting. Also, having a partner that recognised the importance and value of the skills within this program, and the learning that the young people have to do. There are quite a lot of e-waste collection initiatives that are out there, some that are targeted towards young people, less so, but they are existing and they're on the increase. But actually having one that map so clearly onto learning objectives for the young people, and then this action that involves a community initiative, and having a local authority that was so connected already within the community was really fantastic. So I think they're the two things that I would say, really. Having the real drive, enthusiasm, passion for the project, and the deep understanding of it, and also the network and the partners within the local authority that exist there.
Thanks, Jen. Yeah, it just shows that the need for that infrastructure, that kind of the Kingston Green business community was the name you were looking for.
Thank you.
But that partnership and collaboration, having that set up so it can act really quickly and mobilize quickly, I think is efficiently and effectively is really key. Speaking of brilliant partners, we'll now head over to Paul from Relove Technology. Paul, so obviously for this all to kind of move forward, there's an opportunity for circular economy, which is really what this is all about generating. So it creates the business opportunities. Tell us about Relove Technology and a bit about kind of your journey.
Yeah, sure. Good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. Pleased to meet you all. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Relove Technology, and we have a very big ambition where we want to save planet Earth from e-waste, and we want everybody to enjoy technology responsibly. So we would describe ourselves as a circular economy business. We are a purpose-led business, and we predominantly provide ethical and sustainable solutions for the mobile phone industry, and more recently to enterprise companies as well. We firmly believe that the best form of recycling is reuse rather than destruction, and that is our goal. We try to reuse as much as possible from what we recover. We've been established now for over 20 years, and in that time we've recovered over 100 million products and prevented nearly 9,000 tons of e-waste going to landfill. As a business, we are a local business within the Kingston Borough, and pleased to say we work very closely with Kingston Borough, and we employ just under 50 people, and we are a B Corp. So having people, planet, profit firmly in our mantra guides our business decisions and guides our business objectives. We are, as you can imagine, a heavily accredited company because we need to be compliant in terms of what we do. So we have all the appropriate ISO accreditations from quality management, data security, and environmental management. And we're also an EcoVadis accredited company as well. So for us to be part of this project is very special. It's not from a commercial angle. It's purely from an educational, and it gives us great insights. And as part of our giving back, we are keen to support projects like this.
Brilliant. Thanks, Paul. So, Ioana, it's time to talk really about this Kingston experience that we've had, where we've had this e-waste race, which has brought all the partners together. How did you do that? How did you bring everybody together?
Okay, thank you, Mike. I don't know, my camera is something problem. I don't know if you see me or not, because I cannot notice myself, or I'm frozen.
We've got a lovely frozen picture, but we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. I'll come out and back later on. So that was not difficult for us, because we have Kingston Green Business Community, which established in 2022 in collaboration. Kingston Council established it in collaboration with the local Chamber of Commerce, Kingston University, Kingston College, the representatives from large businesses and small businesses, and Transition Town Kingston. So that the community now has 157 members, and they are all businesses environmentally conscientious. So it has a strategic role for us. Its primary goal is to accelerate the borough's transition to a low carbon, circular and resilient economy. And it provides a strategic advantage because it offers an agile mechanism to set up partnerships and to deliver new projects. We can access funding easily sometimes because it's the competitive market there. And we're very grateful that Jen contacted us and to deliver this project. And as she said earlier, I don't need to add anything more. And having that partnership working and understanding, and because we organize events, regularly events, and roundtable discussions online or face-to-face, and we organize every year a circular economy event. For 4 years now, in November, we co-organize it with Kingston University. So we take seriously the transition to green economy in our borough, and we have businesses like us, Line Track, specialized in smart food waste management, JNDC, who is in product design company, Cabda in garment recycling, to mention a few, and Save the World Club, and another business charity who works with the businesses, to give some examples, and Chamber of Commerce with the awards, a number of other initiatives. That all this together, you need to create an ecosystem. We create that ecosystem and support it, and working with the schools as well, to change the way that green skills and green career opportunities are seen, to demonstrate that there is a future in green sector. There is a future in transition to circular economy. And as Paul earlier said, that is a business as well, opportunity there. It's not just opportunity for charities, and not only an opportunity to make better the environment, the natural environment. And as I said earlier, it's very important to become independent as a country as much as we can regarding to resources. Yeah, that's it.
Brilliant.
Any question, further question, and anyone who would like to join Kingston Green Business Community, yeah, you can be in touch with us.
Brilliant. And then I guess as soon as you agreed the project details,
yes,
you invited schools to express their interest, didn't you?
Yes, in the UK, because there are people who are from other countries there. Here, the schools are coordinated by the local authorities, are part of the local authorities, the schools. And so we have, they're managed, and we're working with them very closely. So we're trying to support the schools to decarbonize themselves, to help the young people to understand about career progression in a green economy and in circular economy, and all the green skills, to have the future skills. So it was not difficult for us to send an email out. The newsletter, schools receive a weekly newsletter from the council, Achieving for Children, collaboration with other local authorities, neighboring local authorities. So we send out an expression of interest, and schools express their interest within a week. Maximum, we wanted 10 schools. We had some additional waiting list, not only from our borough and from Richmond as well. So we're ready to, as soon as we have next funding, available funding, to move on to the next race.
Superb. And so all the schools collected their waste, and then obviously it went into the chain that with all these various partners that we're going through today. So let's go to Sammy. Sammy, how did the students respond to the project, and what was their experience? I'm kind of looking from their point of view as to how this worked. Yeah, give us a rundown of their feedback.
From my standpoint, I was quite surprised that young people were so excited by e-waste, because when I was their age, if someone came, even 6 years ago, if someone came up to me and was like, "We're collecting e-waste," I would have been like, "Oh, this has no use to me. I'll just do whatever I want," sort of thing. But seeing them be so excited and giddy by, oh, we're competing with other schools, not just ourselves. And then there were certain schools which had their rivals also participating. So St. Paul's, the school that has actually won the competition, had their rival school, St. Mary's, involved. So all the kids were like, we have to defeat St. Mary's. We have to do it regardless of what happens, sort of thing, which has been really exciting. But then also
Brilliant.
taking a twist and really thinking about this innovatively around what actually classes as e-waste. When thinking about what can we recycle and what we cannot recycle, I got some of the most strange questions within them, but exciting questions being like, oh wait, we can think a bigger picture and what actually classes as e-waste. One of the young people was like, can I bring my dad's electric vehicle? I was like, that does not fit in the bin, don't be silly. But things like that do raise the questions around what happens to that e-waste when we're no longer using it, or things like how can we support in recycling or reusing those materials that we can't always feel like we're reusing or recycling. We also got some really strange questions like one of the young people wanted to bring a fridge, but the teacher was like, I don't think you can carry it. Don't bring a fridge in because it won't fit in the bin either. So it'd be very problematic sort of thing. So they've really took an approach where, oh, we want to win. So how can we take the most out of it and engage the most? Another thing I've realized is that the teachers' excitement towards the project has also kind of trickled down into the people's excitement. So the schools that did the best were the ones where the teachers were also genuinely excited by the race and wanted to win it. And they were like, how can we engage with this the most? And where teachers were kind of doing it as in, oh, this looks good on paper sort of thing, they struggled with getting the young people excited about it. So it goes back to what I said earlier around communication and being able to visualize the problem and actually communicate with the young people around this is the problem, this is what you can do within it, and this is how it's going to make the world a better place really resonates. And young people at the end of the day do want to change the world and they want to make it a better place. So going back to the problem, challenge, solution, and what can we do about it really struck a bell. And then alongside that, it's also around how can they engage with their community and carry on this work forwards. Because there was the understanding that this was about the race, but young people were thinking about, oh, how can we create something that we can do this sort of recycling on the constant basis beyond just this race as well? Or how can we make sure our classmates understand what can be recycled and what can't be recycled, but also things like cables. Everyone has cables somewhere in their house and they seem completely useless because you don't need 6 different C port cables. They all do the exact same thing. But understanding that there are methods to actually use them and in different spaces and repurpose them really goes back to, oh, we're actually doing something good. And this is something we can talk about beyond just what we're doing. And alongside that, there was also the brief thing around schools getting really excited to put this sort of stuff in the newsletters, being like, why are we calling it e-waste? It shouldn't be called e-waste. We should call it something else because it's not necessarily waste. We can recycle it. Or being like, we're collecting X amount of e-waste, bring all your cables in. Actually seeing that community approach, again, goes back to the people's attitudes around, oh, this is an everyone's thing, not just a young people's thing. So let's do it together.
Brilliant. And in terms of the skills they've developed, so they've obviously enjoyed the competition. They will have learned through practice. They will have shared, and the knowledge has gone into the homes through the newsletters and has been kind of amplified that way.
So to give a tiny bit of context for people's roles within this, so there's different roles that young people can pick up and understand, oh, this is what we're doing. So within that, we had collectors, which was basically everyone, where everyone's job was to bring in items and devices. But then alongside that, there was also things like promoters, whose job was, oh, we're going to sketch flyers and write for the newspaper, a school newspaper, which surprisingly some schools still do, and school newsletters and things like that, and really getting the word out. But then we also had young people that I did the assembly to their year group, but then they went along and did it for the whole school. So seeing that sense of leadership develop, being like, oh, we're going to tell the whole school about what we just went through so they can bring in the most amount of e-waste, really develops their skills and thinks about how can we develop their leadership from such an early age. But then also things like the initiative was I was really surprised by it, but it was really good to see where young people were like, okay, can we go to our neighbor's house and collect this X, Y, and Z? Oh, can we put this on social media and get people to bring in this sorts of things? And then there's a fine line between how do we safeguard the young people and support them. So there's also the thing around working with teachers to make sure that young people know, don't go to your neighbors knocking on their doors on your own. Make sure you are taking a parent or a carer with you. Jen put a comment in the chat around a young person saying that their young mother was going and collecting e-waste for them, and they were really surprised by it being more expensive to repair a fridge than to get a whole new one, which was really fascinating, but really goes back to the core of the problem around young people understand this sort of stuff, and they also understand that it's a collective thing. So when we work collectively together, it fuels them to do it and create those habits for life sort of thing. So They definitely learned quite a lot, especially also around teamwork. Initially, it was very much around young people being like, "Oh, I will get more e-waste than you within classes." But then it's also the understanding that it's not just about against one another. You're not competing with yourselves; you're competing with other schools to understand who's the winner here. So
Yeah.
being like, okay, that means my job is to make sure not to bring in the most alone, but also make sure everyone else brings in the most, which kind of creates again the systematic feel about it, where it's a community project, not just for a year group.
Fabulous. So it sounds to me like we've got lots of entrepreneurs out there learning these skills as well, which is fantastic and good news for someone like Paul when he starts recruiting them in 10 or 15 years time. Jen, how has this project enriched the school curriculum is the question I've got listed. What are the highlights and lessons from the delivery of this race?
Yeah, so I mean, I think any program now that's going into schools and that's going to be implemented needs to have wider, needs to be embedded, needs to have wider benefits and educational benefits. Primary schools have a bit more space for creativity and project-based approaches to that learning than secondary. So I think that's an opportunity that we've got here. But I think highlighting the skills that the young people are going to be acquiring and how they're going to be acquiring is really important and is something that we do and Race Against Waste do with their races. So we're very clear that this will be a team building activity, that they'll be developing communication skills, problem solving, creativity, understanding, so knowledge around sustainability, leadership. And I think one of the beautiful things about this program is that it's very cross-curricular, which again aligns better with the primary curriculum than secondary, where we've got young people who are designing posters, as Sammy mentioned, young people who are thinking about promotions and marketing, young people who are learning about delegation and about and project management, essentially, young people that are doing the operations and collection, mathematics, so the young people have to count and register the materials that they've collected, and then there's a points-based system, as Timmy's alluded to. So they have to use their maths, they have to use their English, they have to use a lot of STEM skills, so science, technology, engineering and maths, those critical thinking skills, their research skills, so learning about the e-waste in the first place. So I think in terms of how it aligns, it doesn't fit in one particular place. It's really beautifully cross-curricular. And obviously sustainability is something that is, I think it's challenging for schools because it's not embedded enough in any of the curriculums, in my personal opinion. But it is a thread that kind of is threaded through the curriculum and can be aligned with lots of different subjects. In terms of lesson learned, the race finished last week, I think it was. So we're in a real stage of sort of synergizing our learnings at the moment. And I think there's all sorts of different lessons to be learned from the race, from the fact that we thought that it would take us a lot longer to recruit schools, but we understand now that certainly in Kingston, the relationship between the local authority and the schools really helped us in terms of the school acquisition and getting the schools on board, because they did it because the local authority told them it was a good thing to do, essentially. And I think in that shows the trust that there is in the relationship there. But I think there's lessons that we can do in terms of like the depth of the understanding of the whole process. There were a number of different partners involved, which is brilliant, as we've talked about, the partnerships, but being sure there's clarity and understanding for the schools throughout on what the roles are within all those different partnerships. I think it was great that we had the one point of contact with Sammy, and they would contact Paul directly for collection and that sort of thing. So I think there's lessons to learn for us around communication in that space, and I think that's ever going to be the case with a pilot. Other things that I would say, I think with an initiative like this, there's lessons to be learned, like very what do I want to say? Very, very clear lessons. So I've learned things. I was reading through the feedback this morning, and one of the parents fed back to the school that the reason why they had hundreds of cables is because for their business they have to buy a particular component from America, and that component only comes with cables, but they don't need the cables, so they have all this cable waste. Which then they've obviously recycled through the race. But how insane is that? I mean, how often does that happen? And I think it ties in with what Timmy was saying around where can we influence design, and where are we being reactive to the situations that exist? We wouldn't know that. I mean, I don't know if that's a common problem. I'm sure it is a common problem across the board, but that's been a lesson learned through the parents. And I'm sure that there are lots of very specific lessons that can also be taken more broadly from the young people. I think the final thing I would say is, through the feedback from the schools, we've seen that yes, it's been the learning for the young people. Yes, it's been the knowledge around what e-waste is, but having an initiative that really is mobilizing of the community has been really exciting for them and really exciting for the young people. So making sure as we move forward and hopefully run more races in the UK, that we can support the young people and the schools more potentially with how to mobilize that community. I know that Race Against Waste in the Netherlands have lots of materials. They have different challenges that the young people can do throughout the program around promoting where people can drop off their e-waste, and also young people actually going into the communities and collecting e-waste in a safe way and supported way. And there's infrastructure for that, which I think in this pilots we didn't manage to do all of those different components because it was a lot of learning for us. That said, we still collected just under 4,000 kilograms of e-waste, which I don't think has been mentioned yet on the call, which I think is a huge achievement for Kingston, and a huge achievement for us all in terms of the partnership in our first race. So kudos to those who've been involved in that as well, and to everyone on the call, because you might have donated some e-waste to the race.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jen. There's just value everywhere in this conversation, isn't there? Through the learnings, the education, the amplification of the messages. It's everywhere, but it's got to work as a business as well. So, Paul, how has this project helped your business?
That's a really good question, Mike. So we have the privilege of sifting through that the 4,000 kilograms of e-waste, and we want to see how much of that can actually be reused, and we want to provide that feedback back into the schools to show, look, you thought that was waste, it can actually be reused. We can work with like Save the World Club and so on to put these products back into the community and so on, which I'll get in contact with you, Tarek, later on about this. And for me, this is not a commercial exercise. We don't make money from this. We've provided our services free of charge for this, but it gives us an insight into people's behaviour in terms of how they hoard onto unused products, and to beyond the point where they cannot be reused again. So I just want to frame this problem in two ways. So you mentioned earlier about how many devices people have in how many households and businesses have spare or unused devices in their possession. And we estimate through various surveys there's probably approximately about 150 million devices in the UK that are unused in households and businesses across the UK. Just the UK. That's just the UK. But on the other side of the coin, we have a bigger problem where there's probably up to 1.5 million people that are affected by digital exclusivity. They do not have access to the skills or access to the internet. So, when you look at those two facts side by side, you think, well, it's an easy problem to solve, isn't it? It should be, shouldn't it? And so it should be a no-brainer about releasing products that people don't use to benefit other people. And the second way I want to reframe this as well is that, Joanna mentioned earlier on about the global the race for materials and, the ever decreasing supply of precious metals and so on. So, if we were to mine 1 ton of gold ore, we would probably be able to extract between 10, 20 grams of gold from that ton of gold ore. But the damage that it does to the planet in terms of mining that product that material is phenomenal. Whereas if we were able to extract gold from a ton of e-waste, you're getting closer to 100 grams to 200 grams of gold from that e-waste.
Wow.
The future is the circular economy. The future is about how we can reuse not only products, but the materials within those products. And so for participating in this product, it gives us that insight. And, we want to be able to connect with local businesses, big local businesses that can play a bigger part in terms of how we can reuse products. And for us, providing the feedback that we will give back to the schools in terms of what's been recovered, what can be recycled, what has to be, and what can be reused and how it can benefit the community. I hope it will start to create a behavioural shift in terms of how we approach recycling in the future. And that is our mission for this project.
Yeah, and those critical minerals are at the center of this circular economy, aren't they? And with the transformation of, well, the acceleration of digital, and I heard someone talking about how the AI transformation, the need for these huge banks, and that they're all being used in there too. So the race for this stuff, and we're seeing what's playing out globally on that front. But if it's sat in our drawers, it's really difficult to say, well, how do we take it out of the drawers and turn it into something without it just being, people doing it for free? There's got to be an economy around it. It's actually got to work financially.
And
so I guess
there is business models that will help support that, but they're only skimming the surface of this problem. But I mean, I think Jeff Bezos was quoted saying that AI should be prioritized over providing water to the human race. There's something quite wrong in terms of how we do these things. So we definitely need to re-educate ourselves about how we can work together and benefit everybody from technology.
Brilliant, thank you, Paul. Jen, I'm just going to quickly jump back to you if I can. But you had your hand raised.
I do have my hand up. Yeah, I did just kind of want to pitch in if it was okay, because I think it is really important to acknowledge that these sort of initiatives, there has been a lot of goodwill as well in Kingston to support the delivery of this race, but they're not free to deliver. This race was actually funded by Fairphone, who are a partner of the Race Against Waste more generally, and support a number of races across the country. And and one of the reasons for them supporting it is because they want to be, for want of a better term, and Mara, please correct me if this is unfair. They want to be offsetting any materials that they are using essentially within their phones. They're already an incredibly sustainable telephone brand where you can replace parts within the phone. So commercially for them, being able to say that, and this is actually commercially for their business model, it's a value to them to be able to say we have offset all our materials. Similarly to carbon offsetting is another example of that, right? And I think we do need to lean into that, because we can't be dependent on goodwill, and also we should be recognizing the value in the waste as well. Or value in the materials, if we're changing the terminology around that there is genuine value in those materials, and it's where that value is recognized, who benefits from who realizes that value in a financial way. Like, it happens somewhere along this process. It reminds me a little bit of when I was a child and studied fair trade, and you think about who's doing work for free and who's doing it and where money's being spread along a chain. And I think that's a really exciting and interesting piece of work to do. And I also think it's really important that we don't continue to do things always for free, because I think then things can be taken for granted and expectation can be set.
Yep.
And so realizing that value is really, really important. And races like this will only be possible if either the participants and the partners within the race are realizing a financial return in order to make their involvement sustainable, or they are funded by a larger organization, a grant funder, to make it possible, because they're not free initiatives to run, right?
Yeah. That's such a good point, Jen. I'm going to come to Leonard, because we've had this interesting pilot, and it kind of ties on in how do we expand this? How do we roll it out across the borough? I'm thinking Kingston particularly, obviously. So that residents recycle e-waste responsibly, and I guess the aim is to try and get to the way they recycle their paper or their plastic. And what can be done?
Yeah. So yeah, I think this project sort of demonstrates clearly that if residents are kind of encouraged enough and there's convenient public locations for them to take their e-waste to be recycled or donated for reuse, they can definitely do it. So I think that's been a massive takeaway for us, and it's definitely something we're looking to expand upon by providing more public recycling options for residents. So I mean, these options do exist within Kingston, but I think there just isn't enough of them. So I'm sure most of our residents don't know that they can take items to places like Curry's, PC World to be recycled. So yeah, I think we're just really keen to expand the available options across the borough. But yeah, also tap into these well-visited community spaces in the same way that this project sort of taps into the school environment. But yeah, I'm happy to say we do have funding for this. So hopefully within the next few months, we'll be able to collect more e-waste and get more of that sort of disposed of responsibly. But yeah, I think beyond this, it's I think it's just about promoting the other ways residents can sort of handle their e-waste. It's been mentioned a couple of times, but we have 2 fantastic repair groups in the borough. Transition Town Kingston run their repair cafe once a month, and Save the World Club have an e-waste hub where volunteers will fix e-waste. So yeah, there's options out there, but I think it's just continuing to sort of spread awareness, engage with residents, and yeah, just increase the options. But yeah, I think convenience is a key thing for residents. So yeah, the more options out there, the closer they are, then I think residents will engage with these services.
One question which I have is, I'm not from the same borough, but I would like to have something in my borough as well. So was wondering how open are we to expanding it to others, or just collaborating?
Can I? Sorry, is that Hiba speaking?
Yes, Hiba speaking. Yeah.
Hi, Hiba. We're just gonna, if you could pop any questions into the chat, that would be great. They'll be brought up. We're about to move on to them in a minute, if that's okay. Yeah, Thank you. Fine. Thanks.
Can I add something on what Leonard said?
Yeah, please.
Yes, thank you. And yes, so about what the borough is doing, apart from the developing points for collection with libraries and charities, working with the charities, working with the waste carrier. We're developing new initiatives, and watch this, everyone, watch this space with Kingston University related. You mentioned earlier, someone mentioned, Jen, I think, AI. So we're looking what we can do. AI can help on that, how robotics can help on that, and in a segregation of waste and understanding better how to use the materials in better way, how to it's a market failure there. And we need as well lobbying. We need governments, not only our local government and EU and others as well, to collaborate to reduce that, to the negative impact on the environment, because the negative impact on the environment is not considered from the moment we design the projects, the products or services. So that negative impact in the environment need to be part of the price. So then the materials, they can become proper business case, and the materials can be reused, would be, they have the right value because we have valued from the beginning the negative impact of the environment when we extract the materials and where we transfer the materials from one country to the other, looking at the carbon footprint. So this needs a bigger, as well, awareness of starting from the young age, as they start with this project with the schools. And I attended one of the sessions in the schools, one that Sami delivered, and the young people were very excited learning where rare earths come from in Congo and the impact in the different countries, and the goal that it is incorporated. So that is a bigger lesson learned and awareness, and that will help as well with the Kingston that we have the circular economy events. So that is basically what is our next step, is not stopping here, but we're working with universities and businesses and community groups. It's system changing. Thank you.
Brilliant. It is. There's a lot of mindset to change as well in that, isn't there? Because we still have a mindset where we want that brand new sparkly phone every year, and perhaps not the appreciation that all those parts are coming from multiple places around the world, and perhaps going back and around a few times in its process of becoming a phone. So yeah, if we can bring it back to circular economy, reuse, recycle, then it's obviously going to do a lot of good. Can I go to Catherine Jennings? Catherine, hello. You've been monitoring the questions. I think we've got a time for a couple, maybe. So depends on what comes up. What have we got?
Yeah, I mean, there's been some really lovely discussions going on in the chat around that Jen just summarised as well, around the complications of funding all of this work, and how to alter the balance of repair costs versus replacement costs, and some of the models that have been proposed around the world in terms of removing VAT maybe from repair labour, or capping the markup on spare parts as possible options. But I think actually Jen and Oana have kind of summarised that nicely from the chat, so maybe not worth going into those questions now, but wanted to acknowledge all of the lovely chat that's been going on there. There was a question around how can we encourage more people to be trained up to take on these roles and sort of build the economy locally, as well as the skills, and realise that opportunity for people to get involved in doing this more. And also linking all the benefits of AI and sort of helping to process all this waste, if that's then going to be creating more waste, and how those two things can be balanced, and the pollution impacts of that potentially going on. So I guess that's the first three I'd suggest.
Okay. Is any of the panelists got any comments on any of those?
Yeah, I'm happy to go on
Great.
one of
Thanks,
them. Where do we get the skills and get the excitement and energy around it? I think we're starting in the right place, which is with young people, and I think it's seeing that thread through, starting to activate young people, raise the awareness, explore what careers are available in this space. I mean, the reality is that by the time these young people are going to be leaving school, the amount of opportunity in this green economy will be probably much bigger in terms of what's out there. I think it's a real challenge. I mean, in terms of the specific roles that were referred to, I'm not sure what the specific roles were in the question were being referred to, but I definitely think the starting place would be skills and schools and young people, but not adding that additional burden onto teachers, finding initiatives that can support that development, like this initiative and other initiatives that are complementary. And if it's not too cheeky, just to tap onto the duplication or replication, this model is obviously being replicated internationally. And so, Heba, to your question, I think there's huge opportunity to replicate it in other areas. It's around where the money comes from in order to do it. very happy to pick that up with any organisations that are either interested in funding it or piloting it in their boroughs. And I think that also taps into Nigar's point around replication and learning from best practice. We're like, you obviously have a fantastic thing in your borough where e-waste is collected already, and I think that's fantastic by the council, it looks like. But yeah, how are we sharing best practice? We're certainly going to do a case study of this project, and I know Joanna's really keen to share that within the community, as are we. So I think we really do need to share best practice, learn from other boroughs, and see how we can be most efficient in the way we're working. Sorry, Mike, that was a really naughty answer because I was answering other questions, but hopefully it was helpful.
It was brilliant. That is music to my ears. Thanks, Jen. Sorry, Kat, can you remind me, because I was so engrossed in what Jen was saying. What have we not answered?
I will
You're on mute. Sorry.
I will land on this, that there are some very good suggestions, like the VAT on repairs, removing the VAT of repairs from repairs. But this is, his government, central government, need to lobby more. And that issue is basically what I said earlier about market failures, not included the negative cost on the environment when we produce the products. And so these things needs to be balanced there and have reduction of the cost of repairs, because it's a labor cost. The labor cost is very high in the UK. I have a friend who is Indian and takes everything that needs to be repaired, the small electronics, to India when he travels, goes on holiday there to repair and then brings back. The UK, we have this, the labor cost is quite high. So we need to develop technology. And this is why we work with businesses and universities, trying to how to reduce the cost in repairs. How the materials or laws like the European law that doesn't allow mobile companies to have different type of chargers. Why do you change a mobile phone and have to change charger as well? Have the same type of cables for all the mobile. So it's very, very important, the legislation. So that's everyone, there are petitions, we are working together, and local authority has a role. We're working through London councils in influencing and GLA as well, influencing central government in policies. And everybody has a role to play on that, on how to influence policy and legislation in order to transition the economy to a circular economy, a less polluted economy.
Right, thank you. Kat, I think we've got time for potentially one very quick question. Have you got one thing there?
One. I think actually shifting modes a little bit about how this type of project can then be, or could it be made into a product or a model that could be used through carbon offset funding, and kind of linking the benefits of keeping all of this waste in the circular economy and actually creating a carbon value to that process, as well as a materials value, and whether that would be beneficial.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah, great, thank you.
I've got mixed feelings on carbon offsetting. I think it can essentially drive the wrong behavior. Reuse is the best form of recycling, and if products can be reused, that is the best form of recycling. It has saved so much environmental damage. It can help communities, and it makes products last longer. If something has to be recycled, it should be the last resource or the last point in its life cycle of any product that's in use. And if it's going to be recycled, it needs to be recycled in such a way that those materials can be reused, either to rebuild new technology products. So you're not conventional mining, you can reduce conventional mining and move back into urban mining, which must have phenomenal potential around the globe to save the environment. So I have mixed feelings on carbon offsetting. I get the point, but I think it's driving the wrong behavior. We need to drive a behavior of reuse rather than just recycling.
Fabulous. Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think we've probably got time to quickly whiz round each of the panelists and just maybe get one little takeaway, one quick sentence. If you had a piece of advice to give somebody, whether it's a local authority, a school, or a business, what would it be? And I will start with Jen, if that's okay, or Sammy.
I'm happy to go first. The thing that's just struck me is just how many exciting initiatives are out there, and that it's really important, whatever you're doing, to share what you're doing and to be part of networks that are creating change. I agree largely with what Paul just said around carbon offsetting, but my approach to most things is everything's okay in moderation, and it needs to be a blended approach. And so I think that's really difficult to manage and navigate as a society when we've got such difference of opinions. And so I think that's really challenging, but it's still worth trying to do and hoping that we can achieve, and sharing our knowledge and experience and activity in order to create that change.
Great, thank you, Jen. Sammy, have you got one quick thing for us?
I suppose the thing I have to say is being green or climate friendly does not always have to be boring. So let's make it more exciting and get young people involved within it.
Brilliant, thank you. Ioana?
Recognizing the value of materials. That is my...
Beautiful. Leonard?
I think convenience is king. So I think this project works so well because it's convenient for parents. They have to collect their children. So they're already in a space where this project is taking place. So to any practitioners, think about the convenience element to any project you deliver.
Brilliant, thank you. And Paul?
Yeah, just a quick thing for me. I think, I've made a big point about reuse, and the sooner we give up excess products that we have, the sooner they can be reused, the more useful they will be, and the more that we can benefit the community and local businesses and so on. There's a big opportunity for the UK here within the circular economy. So reuse is a big start in achieving that. And if we can help continue to educate our younger generations to be able to do that as the default behaviour, it'll be fantastic.
Brilliant, thank you. And Mara, hello.
Hello, you haven't heard from me yet, but I would just like to say that I heard a lot of enthusiastic reports about the children, about students, and I think if we hand them the tools, like Timmy said, they are just waiting to help. So I think it's availability and opportunity to help that is the best for everyone to pitch in.
Brilliant, thank you. And that draws us to a close as we approach, in the last 60 seconds. So that's pretty good timing. So thank you very much to all of our panelists. That's to Jen, Sammy, Ioana, Leonard, Paul, Timmy, and Mara. Thank you. Thank you for attending. The video will be up and running, I guess, and ready to download at some point. Stay cool, stay safe, drink water, and look after yourself. My name is Mike, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.